Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you did something meaningful and didn't post about it? Think about it. We live in a world where silence feels suspicious, where privacy looks like you're hiding something. But maybe, just maybe, you're not hiding, you're protecting. Because in 2025, privacy isn't about secrecy. It's about strategy. It's about understanding that not everything sacred needs to be shared. The most successful people, the most peaceful people, have mastered one skill, the art of keeping things private. So tonight, I want to give you something powerful, something that'll guard your energy, protect your peace, and preserve your purpose. Let's talk about 7 things you must keep private in 2025. We all love to talk about our plans, the new project, the business we're starting, the next big step. But here's the truth: every time you announce your move before it's made, you invite interference. People can't attack what they don't see. Keep your dreams under construction until they're strong enough to stand on their own. Work in silence. Let your results make the noise. In 2025, your vision doesn't need validation. It needs execution. So keep your plans sacred, because premature exposure can kill divine progress. Let's be real. Money can be a blessing or a battlefield. The moment you start sharing how much you make, how much you have, or how much you're investing, you open doors to comparison, jealousy, and unwanted opinions. Your financial journey is personal. It's not a public scoreboard. Some people will love you for what you have. Others will resent you for the same reason. So keep your finances private. Let your wealth whisper, not shout, because real wealth is quiet, and real power doesn't need to prove itself. Love is beautiful, but in the digital age, it's also fragile. When you make your relationship a public performance, you give the audience the power to direct your story. Every photo, every caption, every update becomes a chapter that others feel entitled to comment on. And when things go wrong, because sometimes they do, the same audience that cheered you on will gossip about your fall. In 2025, protect your relationship from public opinion. Private love grows stronger because it's rooted in truth, not attention. Keep it sacred, keep it safe, and let your love breathe without pressure. Family, it's where love meets imperfection. We all go through moments of conflict, misunderstanding, or pain. But here's the truth: publicizing your family issues doesn't solve them. It magnifies them. The world doesn't need to know what happens behind closed doors. Because when you make private pain public, you give strangers authority over your emotions. Handle your family matters with grace and discretion. Talk to heal, not to expose. In 2025, maturity means fixing problems without an audience. Doing good is one of life's purest joys. But when kindness becomes content, its meaning gets diluted. If you're only helping for the camera, you're not serving, you're performing. The greatest acts of kindness are the ones done in silence. When no one is watching, when there's no applause, when the only audience is your conscience. In 2025, let your light shine quietly. Be kind without needing credit. Be generous without needing proof. Because real compassion doesn't need hashtags, it needs heart. There's power in vulnerability, yes. But not everyone deserves access to your wounds. Some people will use your weaknesses to understand you, while others will use them to undermine you. Be wise about who you confide in. Your healing journey is sacred. Not everyone who listens wants you to recover, some just want to remember. So in 2025, learn to share your struggles with those who can strengthen you. Mentors, true friends, people who lift you up, not those who secretly hope you stay down. Your scars are not your shame, but they are your story. And not everyone deserves to read every chapter. Faith, growth, purpose, these are deeply personal things. In 2025, spirituality has become another trend. Everyone's talking about energy, manifestation, and alignment. But your spiritual path is not a performance. What you pray for, meditate on, or manifest doesn't need to be public. Because when you announce your spiritual growth too soon, you invite ego to enter the room. Keep some conversations between you and your creator. Your connection with the divine doesn't need validation from social media. It needs consistency. Grow quietly, evolve privately, and let your light reveal itself through your actions, not your announcements. Now let's pause for a second. You might be thinking, but what's wrong with sharing? What's wrong with being open? Nothing, as long as you understand the balance. Because here's the truth: the more you share, the more you give people access to your energy. And not everyone deserves front row seats to your life. Privacy isn't about fear. It's about focus. It's not about isolation. It's about intention. In 2025, the loudest person isn't the most confident, the quietest one is. The one who doesn't need to prove, to post, to perform, because they already know who they are. Let the world wonder what you're doing. Let them question how you keep rising without revealing your steps, because mystery isn't arrogance, it's maturity. And when you master what to reveal and what to conceal, you don't just protect your privacy, you protect your power. Privacy is power. In a world obsessed with sharing, the person who keeps things private holds true control. We live in an age where the currency of attention has become more valuable than gold. Everyone wants to be seen, heard, and validated. People share their breakfast before they taste it, post their plans before they live them, and record their pain before they heal from it. We are living in a time where exposure is mistaken for authenticity and silence is confused with secrecy. But here's the truth: not everything that glitters on your timeline is gold, and not everything that's silent is empty. Privacy is not about hiding, it's about holding. It's about holding on to what matters before the noise of the world dilutes its meaning. The moment you choose privacy, you choose peace. You take back the steering wheel of your life from the hands of public opinion. The more you share, the more you surrender pieces of your power. Every detail of your life that you reveal becomes a weapon in someone else's hands. The less they know, the more control you have. Because power isn't in what's revealed, it's in what's reserved. The quiet ones, the ones who move strategically, who act without announcing, who succeed without broadcasting. They're not mysterious by accident, they're wise by choice. In 2025, when everyone is screaming for attention, the person who whispers will stand out. The one who chooses peace over posting, focus over flexing, and privacy over popularity will always have the upper hand. People confuse privacy with fear, but privacy is confidence. It's knowing that your value doesn't depend on visibility. You don't have to prove your worth through updates or posts. When you keep something private, you protect its power from dilution. Think about a seed. Before it becomes a tree, it grows in darkness, underground, hidden from the world. That darkness isn't punishment, it's protection. The same applies to dreams, goals, and ideas. When they are hidden, they are growing. When they are private, they are protected from premature judgment. But when you expose them too early, you invite winds that can uproot them before they take root. Your privacy is the soil where your purpose matures. Every time you open your life for public inspection, you hand over pieces of your energy. People start analyzing, comparing, criticizing, and often misunderstanding. You think you're being transparent, but you're really being dissected. People don't always see your intentions, they interpret your image. And in a digital world driven by perception, privacy becomes your shield. Because what people don't know, they can't distort. What they can't see, they can't sabotage. Power grows in silence. It multiplies in the unseen. The loudest victories are often the ones that never make it to social media. The quiet effort, the unseen grind, the battles fought behind closed doors. Those are the moments that define greatness. The applause comes later, but the power, it comes from staying silent while the world expects noise. There's a strange kind of freedom that comes from being private. When you no longer need to broadcast every step, you start walking lighter. You stop performing, you stop comparing. You stop living for validation and start living for purpose. You stop measuring your worth through engagement because you realize engagement doesn't equal impact. You begin to understand that not everything sacred should be seen. The most beautiful things, love, growth, healing, purpose, they bloom in quiet spaces. And the people who master privacy are the ones who master peace. They don't move in shadows out of fear, they move in silence out of wisdom. They know that noise distracts, but privacy directs. In this age of constant exposure, privacy has become rebellion. Choosing not to share is now an act of self-respect. The algorithms may favor those who shout, but life favors those who listen. The ones who preserve mystery in a world that sells attention are the ones who control the narrative. When everyone is busy proving something, the private person is improving something. They're not trying to be understood by everyone, they're focused on understanding themselves. And when you understand yourself, you stop needing validation from others. Privacy becomes your sanctuary, a place where you can breathe without judgment, think without noise, and grow without interference. There's also a deeper psychological strength in being private. When you keep your goals, relationships, and struggles to yourself, you reduce external pressure. You give yourself permission to fail quietly, to restart without ridicule, to evolve without explanation. The world is quick to celebrate you when you win, but quicker to criticize when you stumble. That's why privacy is so essential. It gives you space to evolve authentically. Not every transformation needs an audience. Some seasons require silence so your spirit can realign. Growth is not always glamorous, and healing isn't always shareable. The moments that shape you the most often happen away from the spotlight. Privacy allows you to experience those moments fully without the burden of performance. In 2025, the world is louder than ever. Everyone's chasing visibility. Influencers, brands, individuals, even ordinary people craving extraordinary attention. But real influence doesn't come from being seen, it comes from being centered. When you are grounded in your privacy, you're unshakable. People can speculate, assume, or fabricate, but they'll never truly know. And that's your advantage. You become unpredictable. You become powerful. Because mystery keeps people guessing and control keeps you focused. The person who reveals everything gives away leverage. The one who reveals nothing controls the conversation without even speaking. That's why privacy is not just protection, it's power. Look at the people who inspire you most, not the ones who are always talking, but the ones who move with quiet confidence. They don't announce their plans. They don't explain their decisions. They don't respond to noise. They act. They execute. And when the results come, the world is left wondering how it happened. Privacy gives you that kind of strength. The strength to move without approval, to grow without applause, to win without witnesses. It teaches you discipline. It forces you to focus. It allows you to prioritize peace over popularity. And that is where true control lies, in choosing what to share and what to protect. Privacy also guards your relationships. When you keep your love life, your friendships, and your family matters private, you protect them from unnecessary judgment. You keep your emotions sacred, your bonds unpolluted by outside opinions. Because once the world starts watching, people start interfering. Opinions turn into expectations, and expectations turn into pressure. Privacy keeps love pure, keeps trust intact, and keeps connections strong. It's not about secrecy, it's about safety. What's private grows stronger because it's not constantly exposed to the storm of public opinion. When your relationships are private, they're protected from comparison, gossip, and jealousy. They thrive quietly, away from the noise that ruins so many genuine connections. In this digital era, privacy has become the ultimate luxury. Everyone's trying to buy peace, but peace can't be bought. It's preserved. And the key to preserving it lies in privacy. It's choosing silence over spectacle. It's being content with inner validation. It's building a life that feels good, not just one that looks good. Privacy allows you to enjoy your blessings without broadcasting them. Because not everyone watching you is cheering for you. Some are waiting for your weakness, not your win. Some are studying your moves, not to learn, but to compete. When you keep things private, you remove their advantage, you move unseen, you build unbothered, you live untouched. Even in professional life, privacy amplifies strength. When you don't disclose your strategies, your next steps, or your networks, you stay unpredictable. Competitors can't anticipate your move. Enemies can't manipulate your momentum. Your silence becomes your shield. The most effective leaders don't reveal every thought or decision. They share only what serves the mission. The same principle applies to life. Not every idea deserves exposure. Not every plan requires an audience. The power of privacy lies in selectivity, knowing what to reveal, when to reveal it, and to whom. The fewer people who know your path, the fewer opinions you'll need to navigate. Privacy also redefines confidence. It teaches you to be self-assured without needing an audience. When you stop oversharing, you stop over-explaining. You stop defending your choices. You start trusting your instincts. You begin to realize that silence can be louder than speech. Because privacy doesn't mute you, it magnifies you. It shifts your energy from proving to improving. You start focusing on substance, not show. You start moving for purpose, not applause. You start living for growth, not validation. The person who doesn't reveal everything becomes mysterious, and mystery attracts respect. People start sensing your depth without you having to demonstrate it. They sense your power without you needing to display it. The world will tell you to be open, be transparent, share your truth. But remember, transparency without boundaries becomes vulnerability without safety. Not everyone is equipped to hold your truth with care. Some will misunderstand it, others will misuse it. Privacy is how you protect your truth from distortion. It's how you ensure that your story remains yours. It's not about closing yourself off, it's about choosing wisely. You can be genuine without being exposed. You can be real without being revealed. You can be open-minded and still keep your heart guarded. Privacy allows you to express yourself selectively, strategically, and safely. Privacy is also power because it nurtures clarity. When you stop seeking external validation, you start hearing your own voice more clearly. You begin to make decisions that align with your values, not public trends. You start filtering opinions instead of being flooded by them. You gain time, focus, and energy, the three things oversharing steals from you. Every post, every update, every reveal invites distraction. Privacy eliminates that noise, returning you to what matters, your growth, your peace, your purpose. It's not isolation, it's elevation. When you rise in silence, you rise stronger because no one can interrupt what they can't see. In a world that glorifies exposure, choosing privacy is an act of quiet rebellion. It's deciding to be whole rather than seen, fulfilled rather than famous, grounded rather than grand. It's choosing to live deeply instead of loudly. It's choosing power over attention. Privacy is a form of self-respect, a declaration that not everything you experience belongs to the world. Some moments are too precious for public consumption. Some achievements deserve to be celebrated quietly. Some wounds need to be healed privately. The person who understands that doesn't fall for the illusion of digital validation. They move through life with quiet confidence, unbothered, unbreakable, and unstoppable. Silence speaks volumes. Sometimes what you don't reveal says more than what you do. In a world where noise is the new normal, silence has become a rare art. Everyone is talking, posting, explaining, defending, and debating, but very few are listening, observing, or understanding. People have become addicted to expression without comprehension, to speaking without reflection. Yet, in the midst of all this noise, silence stands tall, not as weakness, but as wisdom. It's the space between words where real understanding lives. It's the invisible force that carries more truth than 1,000 speeches. Silence doesn't beg to be heard, it commands respect. It doesn't seek attention, it earns it. There's a reason silence feels powerful. It's because it creates mystery, depth, and strength in conversations, in conflicts, in relationships, and even in personal growth. Silence is not emptiness, it's energy. What you choose not to say often reveals more about your character than what you do say. When you stay silent in the face of provocation, you show discipline. When you withhold judgment before hearing the full story, you show wisdom. When you pause instead of reacting, you show control. The loudest person in the room might get the spotlight, but the quiet one often has the truth. Because silence isn't passive, it's powerful. People fear silence because they mistake it for invisibility. They think being quiet means being unheard, being unseen, or being insignificant. But silence is not the absence of voice, it's the mastery of it. It's knowing when to speak, what to say, and what not to reveal. The truly strong don't need to announce their strength. It radiates from their calm. The truly confident don't need to prove their point. They let time do the talking. Silence is not submission. It's strategy. It's the pause that makes the next move sharper, the breath that keeps emotions in check, the stillness that confuses chaos. It's a language that doesn't use words, yet it communicates everything. Sometimes silence protects what words might destroy. In moments of anger, silence prevents regret. In moments of confusion, silence allows reflection. In moments of confrontation, silence disarms the noise. When you speak out of impulse, you often lose power. But when you respond from silence, you speak from strength. Words can be twisted, misunderstood, or forgotten, but silence leaves people wondering. It creates space for curiosity and interpretation. That's why silence often speaks louder than declarations, because it forces others to listen between the lines. The absence of noise creates the presence of meaning. In 2025, when opinions travel faster than thought, silence becomes a form of rebellion. Everyone wants to comment, react, or argue, but few want to understand. The person who stays silent in a storm of opinions doesn't lack a voice, they possess self-control. Silence filters emotion from reaction. It gives you time to see the full picture before you decide where to stand. It turns chaos into clarity. When everyone else is shouting, your silence stands out. It makes people wonder what you know that they don't. It gives you an aura of mystery, authority, and depth. The person who doesn't react immediately often holds the most power, because they control the timing, and in every situation, timing is everything. Silence is also the foundation of wisdom. It's in the still moments that truth reveals itself. When you're silent, you listen. And when you listen, you learn. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. But those who master silence learn to hear what others miss, the pauses, the tone, the emotion beneath the words. They pick up on what's unsaid, not just what's spoken. Silence sharpens perception. It turns noise into knowledge. It teaches patience, and patience is the companion of understanding. Great thinkers, leaders, and creators all share this one trait. They know how to be silent when it matters. They think before they speak, and that thinking happens in the stillness that silence provides. There's also a spiritual dimension to silence. It's where your mind meets your soul. In silence, your thoughts slow down, and your intuition becomes louder. You begin to hear the whispers of your inner wisdom, the voice that gets drowned out by constant distraction. Silence connects you to yourself. It reminds you that peace isn't found in noise, it's found in stillness. It's in those quiet moments that creativity blooms, healing begins, and clarity is born. People run from silence because it forces them to face themselves, but that's where real transformation happens. Silence doesn't hide truth, it reveals it. In relationships, silence speaks louder than declarations of love or arguments of defense. When you care deeply, sometimes words fall short. Silence can communicate affection, empathy, or understanding more profoundly than speech ever could. Holding someone's hand in silence can heal more than 1,000 comforting words. Likewise, silence in the face of betrayal or disrespect isn't weakness, it's power. It shows that you don't need to argue your worth. You know who you are, and you refuse to lower your energy to explain it. Silence becomes your boundary, your protection, your dignity. The more you value yourself, the less you feel the need to explain yourself. Silence is how strong souls say, "I don't owe you an explanation." In conflict, silence is often the smartest weapon. When tempers rise, words become bullets. Every sentence fired in anger can leave scars that outlast the moment. But silence absorbs, it neutralizes, it disarms. It says, "I refuse to let this chaos pull me into its level." It takes more strength to stay silent than to shout back. It's easy to speak when you're emotional. It's powerful to stay quiet when you're triggered. Silence in such moments doesn't mean surrender. It means you're saving your energy for peace instead of battle. The one who controls their tongue controls the temperature of the room. Silence also tests intentions. When you stop explaining yourself, you find out who truly understands you. When you stop oversharing, you see who respects your boundaries. Silence reveals truth faster than confrontation. Those who genuinely care will feel your silence. Those who only cared for convenience will disappear when the noise stops. Silence becomes a filter. It separates the real from the temporary. It shows you who listens to your silence instead of your words. It shows who values your presence, not your performance. The people who can sit with you in silence are the ones who truly see you. In a professional world, silence is often the mark of intelligence. The quietest person in the room is usually the one observing everything. While others rush to speak, to impress, to dominate, the silent observer gathers information. They read the room, understand dynamics, and act with precision. Silence gives you the advantage of perspective. You can't learn while talking, but you can learn everything while listening. Power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits patiently in silence. The greatest negotiators, strategists, and leaders know when to stay quiet. They know that the right silence can say more than the wrong speech. Silence can also protect your dreams. When you share too much too soon, you open your aspirations to doubt and interference. But when you nurture them quietly, you give them time to grow. Every idea needs incubation, a space free from noise, opinion, and pressure. Silence is that space. It keeps your vision pure. It protects your energy from the vibrations of negativity. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the less energy you have left to do it. Silence channels that energy inward, into action, not announcement. Let your success speak for you when it's ready. Silence builds strength, noise wastes it. Social media has trained us to fear silence. We feel the need to respond instantly, post constantly, explain endlessly. But silence is a form of digital detox. It allows you to step back and reclaim your mental space. You realize that not everything deserves your reaction. Not every comment deserves your response. Not every argument needs your presence. Silence online is self-preservation. It's a declaration that your peace is worth more than your participation. It's refusing to be dragged into digital drama. Silence isn't disengagement, it's discernment. It's choosing where your energy goes and where it doesn't. Silence also teaches humility. When you don't speak, you listen, and when you listen, you learn how little you truly know. That awareness keeps you grounded. It reminds you that wisdom doesn't come from being the loudest voice but from being the most attentive one. Silence gives you the humility to understand before judging, to observe before acting, and to reflect before deciding. It removes ego from communication and replaces it with empathy. You begin to see that true confidence isn't in shouting your truth but in living it quietly. There is also beauty in silence that words can't touch. Music depends on it. The pauses between notes create rhythm and emotion. Art depends on it. The empty spaces make the image complete. Even nature thrives on silence. The calm before the rain, the stillness before sunrise, the quiet of a forest that holds more life than any city noise. Silence doesn't erase meaning, it defines it. It reminds us that sometimes the most profound expressions come from stillness, not sound. When you practice silence, you start to see how words can lose their weight. The more you talk, the more value your words lose. But when you speak less, people listen more. Silence gives words power because it adds intention. It makes your voice meaningful instead of mechanical. People will lean in when you finally speak because they've learned that your silence has significance. You don't waste words, you wield them. Silence, therefore, becomes a tool of influence. It creates anticipation, curiosity, and respect. Silence also strengthens intuition. The quieter your surroundings, the louder your inner guidance becomes. You begin to feel instead of overthink, to sense instead of analyze. Intuition thrives in silence. That's why some of the best decisions in life come not from over-discussion but from moments of stillness. Silence clears mental clutter. It allows the truth within you to rise. When you sit in silence, you start hearing the voice that has all the answers, your own. There are moments in life when silence is the only response that makes sense. When explanations won't be understood, when apologies won't be accepted, when arguments won't end, silence becomes the language of peace. It's not avoidance, it's awareness. You're aware that words won't change what silence already reveals. You don't owe everyone your side of the story. Time will tell it better than your tongue ever could. Silence doesn't defend you, it defines you. It tells the world that your peace is more important than your point. It shows that you've learned to value energy over ego, calm over conflict, depth over display. In a time where everyone is trying to speak louder than the next person, silence becomes the highest form of sophistication. It's restraint in a reckless world. It's confidence that doesn't need confirmation. It's wisdom disguised as quiet. The more you grow, the less you need to explain. The more you know, the less you need to say. The more you understand, the quieter you become. Because silence doesn't just speak, it teaches. It teaches patience, perspective, and presence. It shows that real power doesn't shout. It simply stands still, unshaken, and lets the noise exhaust itself. Social media isn't your diary. The world doesn't need to know every thought, every move, or every win. We live in an age where validation is measured in likes, approval is quantified in comments, and relevance feels like a race against algorithms. People wake up and reach for their phones before they even reach for their purpose. The first instinct isn't to reflect but to post, not to experience but to record, not to feel but to perform. What was once a tool for connection has become a stage for constant exhibition. And yet, in the process of trying to be seen, many have forgotten how to be. The art of privacy, the grace of mystery, the power of stillness, all traded for temporary attention that fades faster than the story highlights we post. Social media has made people confuse exposure with expression. There's a difference between being authentic and being available to everyone. When you treat social media like a diary, you hand over your emotions, your dreams, your struggles, and your spirit to an audience that doesn't always care, doesn't always understand, and sometimes doesn't even wish you well. The world doesn't need to know every detail of your life to respect you. In fact, the more you reveal, the more you reduce the magic of who you are. Mystery is magnetism. When you keep some things for yourself, you maintain ownership over your energy. The more you give away, the more control you lose. What people forget is that not every thought deserves an audience. Not every feeling deserves a caption. Not every moment deserves to be shared. Social media makes it easy to overshare because it tricks you into believing that visibility equals validation. But visibility without boundaries is vulnerability without protection. Every time you post impulsively, You expose more of your private life to public interpretation. People who don't know your context start shaping your story with their opinions. And before you know it, your personal life becomes public property. You become a brand instead of a being, a character instead of a creator, a personality instead of a person. The danger isn't in sharing. It's in forgetting why you're sharing. There's a difference between sharing to inspire and sharing to impress. One adds value, the other seeks approval. One uplifts others, the other drains yourself. When social media becomes your emotional outlet, you lose the ability to process feelings privately. Every triumph becomes content, every failure becomes confession, every experience becomes performance. And soon, you start living for reaction instead of reflection. You no longer ask, "Am I growing?" You ask, "Are they watching?" The applause of strangers starts meaning more than the peace within yourself. Social media feeds the illusion of intimacy. It makes you feel connected while keeping you emotionally distant. You might have hundreds of followers and still feel unseen. You might post everything about your life and still feel misunderstood. That's because what you share online is a version of you, not you. It's curated, filtered, and designed for consumption. The more you post, the more pressure you create to maintain that persona. And when life doesn't match that highlight reel, you start feeling like a failure in your own story. You start living for the feed instead of your future. There is a quiet dignity in living beyond the lens. The moments that mean the most. The laughter around a dinner table, the tears in solitude, the small victories no one notices. Those are the treasures that define you, not the ones you post. When you learn to hold some memories close, they stay pure. When you post everything, you dilute the emotion with expectation. You start measuring the worth of your experiences through engagement. Did people like it? Did they comment? Did it trend? But true joy doesn't need witnesses. It just needs presence. Every time you share too much, you open the door to misunderstanding. People will analyze your captions, interpret your silence, read meaning into your post that was never there. The more you show, the more stories others write for you. Privacy, on the other hand, keeps your narrative in your control. It lets you decide what the world sees and what it doesn't. It lets you live authentically, without the weight of performing your own life. The world doesn't need to know every thought that passes your mind, because not all thoughts are meant to be permanent. Some emotions are meant to be felt, not published. Some moments are meant to be lived, not liked. Social media has made people addicted to attention. The dopamine rush from likes and shares creates a loop that's hard to break. You post, you wait, you refresh, and you feel good for a few seconds. Then it fades and you start chasing the next post, the next reaction, the next wave of approval. But no amount of digital applause can fill a spiritual void. The emptiness that comes after oversharing isn't coincidence, it's consequence. When you hand your happiness to the internet, you give strangers the power to control your mood. Their silence becomes your insecurity. Their attention becomes your identity. And slowly, you lose the ability to feel content without an audience. There's also the issue of comparison. When everyone treats social media like a diary of achievements, you start comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reels. You see their vacations, their promotions, their celebrations, and you forget that you're only seeing one frame from a much bigger picture. Nobody posts their full reality. Everyone filters their truth. But when you treat those images as benchmarks for your worth, you start feeling inadequate for simply being human. You start thinking your progress isn't enough, your joy isn't big enough, your wins aren't worthy enough. Social media makes it easy to forget that peace doesn't post well. When you overshare your thoughts, you also invite unsolicited opinions. People who don't walk your path start giving directions. They start judging, correcting, or even mocking. Not everyone who engages with you online does so with kindness. Some are curious, some are jealous, and some are simply waiting for something to criticize. When you turn your life into public content, you give strangers a voice in your story, a voice they never earned. Silence, on the other hand, protects your energy. It gives you the strength to focus on what matters without needing to defend it. You don't have to explain your journey to anyone who wasn't meant to walk it with you. The illusion of connection on social media can also distort your relationships. When everything becomes public, your friendships, your love life, your conflicts, authenticity fades. You start performing love instead of living it. You start measuring care through public gestures instead of private effort. You start craving digital proof of real emotions. But love that needs to be seen to exist isn't love, it's marketing. When you keep your relationships private, you allow them to breathe, to grow, to be real without pressure. The world doesn't need to witness your affection to know it's real. The people involved are the only audience that matters. Even success loses its meaning when you post it too quickly. When you announce every small win, you invite distraction before direction. Some people will celebrate you, others will envy you, and a few will silently hope for your downfall. Your goals are safest when they're quiet. The more you talk, the more noise you attract. And noise, in any form, disrupts focus. Success grows best in silence. Let the results speak when they're ready. Not every milestone needs a caption. Some victories deserve to stay between you and the mirror that witnessed the effort. Social media also has a way of stealing presence. You can't fully live in a moment when you're constantly framing it for others. The sunset becomes less about its beauty and more about its likes. The meal becomes less about taste and more about angles. The experience becomes less about memory and more about metrics. You're there, but not really. You're living, but only through the lens of perception. But some of life's best moments lose their meaning when they're broadcasted. They were meant to be felt, not shared. The irony is that in trying to prove you're living, you forget to actually live. The more you use social media as a diary, the more you disconnect from real introspection. You start processing emotions publicly instead of privately. You start expecting comfort from comments instead of conversation. You replace reflection with reaction. But growth doesn't come from venting online, it comes from sitting quietly with your thoughts until they make sense. Some feelings need solitude, not an audience. Some thoughts need refinement before release. The more you expose your emotions online, the less sacred they become. There's also a permanent cost to digital confession. Once you post something, it never truly disappears. Screenshots, archives, reposts, your temporary thoughts can become permanent records. What feels like expression in the moment can turn into exposure later. Privacy is not just about protection from others, it's about protection from your past self. The person you are today might not agree with what you shared yesterday. But the internet remembers everything. That's why restraint is wisdom. The world doesn't need to know your every emotion. You owe yourself the right to evolve without leaving a digital trail of every mistake, heartbreak, or insecurity. Another quiet danger of using social media as a diary is how it rewires your self-worth. When people applaud your vulnerability online, you start associating pain with attention. You start sharing deeper wounds for sympathy instead of healing. You start performing emotions because they get engagement. But real healing happens in silence, not in status updates. The moment you turn pain into performance, you lose its authenticity. Vulnerability is sacred. It's meant to be shared with people who can hold it, not platforms that can exploit it. When you detach your identity from social media validation, you begin to understand that your value doesn't rise and fall with visibility. You don't owe anyone updates on your progress, your heartbreak, your dreams, or your downtime. Your peace doesn't need proof. The most powerful people in the world are not the ones constantly posting their moves. They're the ones building silently. They're the ones who understand that attention is not the same as respect and presence is not the same as peace. They share selectively, intentionally, and meaningfully, not to be seen, but to serve. The world is already filled with noise. Every scroll is a stream of voices, images, and opinions fighting for your attention. When you add your inner life to that noise, you lose a part of your essence. You dilute your individuality in the chaos of collective craving. But when you pull back, when you learn to hold your moments sacred, when you live beyond the lens, you begin to find yourself again. Social media was never meant to replace your private life. It was meant to complement it. The moment you make it your diary, you lose control of your narrative. The world doesn't need to know every thought, every move, or every win. Because the most meaningful parts of life were never meant for display, they were meant for depth. Not everyone is cheering for you. Some people are watching, not to celebrate your success, but to predict your downfall. The truth is, the moment you decide to rise, you also invite resistance. The moment you start shining, you start exposing the shadows in others. People love to see you do well, but often only to a point. As long as it doesn't outshine them, as long as it doesn't make them question their own effort, as long as it doesn't disturb the comfortable rhythm of mediocrity they've settled into. It's not personal, It's human nature. Success has a strange way of revealing people. Their insecurities, their jealousy, their quiet resentment disguised as indifference. You'll start to notice that the same people who clapped when you started your journey might go silent when you actually start winning. In life, not every smile is sincere. Not every "I'm proud of you" comes from a place of truth. Some people are invested in your potential only as long as it stays potential, because your potential doesn't threaten anyone. It's harmless, it's hypothetical, it's a dream they can admire without discomfort. But the moment your potential turns into results, the moment you start doing what they only talk about, you become a mirror reflecting their own lack of action. And not everyone likes what they see in that reflection. That's when admiration turns into comparison, and comparison turns into quiet hostility. They may not say it out loud, but you'll feel it. In their silence, in their lack of support, in the way they subtly dismiss your progress as luck or timing or favoritism. Some people aren't watching your success to be inspired. They're watching to calculate when it might collapse. They keep track of your steps, not out of love, but curiosity. They analyze your moves hoping to spot a misstep, a weakness, a failure that proves their doubts right. It's not because you've done anything to them. It's because your growth threatens their comfort. Your courage exposes their fear. Your discipline exposes their excuses. And rather than confronting their own stagnation, it's easier to root for your failure quietly. It gives them relief, proof that risk wasn't worth it, that playing safe was the smarter choice, that maybe greatness isn't for everyone after all. You have to learn to recognize these people without letting them break your focus. Not everyone clapping for you is a fan. Some are just keeping rhythm until you fall out of tune. Some people will act like supporters, but their energy tells the truth. They'll say all the right things, but their presence will feel heavy. Their words will sound sweet, but something in their tone will sting. That's intuition trying to warn you. Energy never lies. Pay attention to how people react to your good news. Real friends will celebrate even your smallest victories like they're their own. Pretenders will go silent or find ways to redirect the attention. "Oh, that's nice," they'll say. "But did you hear what happened too?" It's subtle, but the message is clear. They're uncomfortable with your elevation. And it's not always strangers who hold that energy. Sometimes it's people you've grown with, people you've shared dreams with, people you've encouraged when they were down. The ones who had front row seats to your struggle might not be ready for front row seats to your success. Familiarity breeds entitlement. They think they know you too well to accept your transformation. To them, you'll always be the version they met first. They'll remind you of who you were instead of respecting who you've become. And when they can't categorize you anymore, when you outgrow the box they built for you, they'll start to resent your expansion. That's why it's dangerous to seek validation from people who haven't evolved. The moment you start rising, you'll also start realizing that not everyone deserves access to your journey. You don't owe updates to people who don't genuinely wish you well. Some things grow better in silence. Your goals, your plans, your peace. When people don't know your next move, they can't interfere with it. When they can't predict your path, they can't plant doubt along the way. You have to learn the art of moving quietly, of letting your results announce themselves. Because sometimes it's not your ambition that attracts enemies, it's your visibility. The more people see, the more they speculate. The less they know, the more they wonder. And that mystery protects you. Jealousy is a silent disease. It rarely speaks directly. It shows up in disguised forms: sarcasm, passive-aggressive compliments, subtle undermining. Someone might say, "You're lucky you got that opportunity," as if luck built your consistency, as if chance created your work ethic. Others might start giving unsolicited advice not to help, but to plant doubt. "Are you sure you can handle all that? Maybe you should slow down?" Don't get too ahead of yourself. They frame it as concern, but it's really containment. Because if they can't grow, they don't want to watch you grow either. Misery loves company, and the lonely crowd of mediocrity always resents the one who dares to leave. The key is not to become bitter. Don't let other people's jealousy make you cold. Let it make you wise. Understand that not everyone can handle your light, and that's okay. Some people prefer the comfort of dimness because brightness exposes too much truth. You don't need to shrink to make others comfortable. You don't need to downplay your achievements to protect someone else's ego. You can be humble without being invisible. You can be proud without being arrogant. The problem isn't that you're shining too bright, it's that some people refuse to adjust their vision. You'll also notice that when you start achieving, people will begin to rewrite your story. They'll forget the struggle, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the rejections. They'll only see the end result and label it easy. They'll make your journey look effortless because it soothes their ego to believe success just happened for you. They won't mention the battles you fought in silence, the pain you pushed through, the moments you doubted everything. They'll never give credit to your perseverance, only excuses for their own inaction. That's why you must never rely on public validation to define your worth. The same crowd that cheers for you today might mock you tomorrow. Public opinion is the wind. It shifts easily. What remains constant is your purpose. Sometimes the most dangerous people are not your critics. They're your observers. They stay close, not to support, but to study. They'll watch every move you make, take mental notes of your patterns, your weaknesses, your wins. They'll pretend to be on your side, but they're really preparing their comparisons or competition. It's not paranoia, it's awareness. Protect your information, your strategy, your dreams. Share selectively. Everyone doesn't need to know how you're building. They'll see it when it's done. Every masterpiece is painted behind closed doors before it's unveiled to the world. There's also a spiritual layer to this truth. Energy travels faster than words. When you share your vision with the wrong people, their doubt attaches itself to your dream. You might start second, guessing yourself, not because you're unsure, but because their disbelief subtly infected your confidence. That's why you need to be intentional with your circle. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your progress without envy, who push you higher without competition, who see your light and don't feel the need to dim it. You'll know them by their consistency. They clap in private, not just in public. They think well of you even when you're not in the room. They want to see you win even if they're not winning yet. Those are your people. You'll learn as you grow that distance is a form of protection. You don't have to argue with envy. You don't have to expose jealousy. You just have to create space. Silence is your strongest response. It disarms those who expect drama. It confuses those who feed off your reaction. Let your success speak for itself, and let time reveal intentions. Because time always does. People can fake support, but not for long. Eventually, true colors surface. Eventually, energy shows. The hardest part is accepting that some people you love will secretly root against you. It's painful, but it's real. They'll smile in your face and whisper doubts behind your back. They'll downplay your efforts to others, saying things like, "It's not that serious," or "Anyone could have done it." They can't stand the fact that you're doing what they couldn't. They won't admit it, but your courage makes them uncomfortable. The same people you once called friends might start treating you like competition. The same family that encouraged your dreams might start resenting your reality. It's not hate, it's hurt. They wish they had your fire. They wish they had your belief. But instead of learning from your example, they project their disappointment onto you. That's why you must build inner strength. The kind that doesn't depend on applause, the kind that doesn't crumble under criticism. You need a foundation so strong that whether people cheer or jeer, you keep moving. Because the same people waiting for your failure will be the first to say, "I always knew you could do it." When you succeed, the same ones who ignored you in your grind will want credit for your glow up. But you'll know. You'll remember the silence when you needed support, the doubt when you needed belief. And you'll use it, not as bitterness, but as motivation to keep building. You can't control who roots for you, but you can control how you react to who doesn't. Stop expecting loyalty from those who are threatened by your growth. Stop waiting for validation from those who can't even validate themselves. The people meant for you will never feel intimidated by your light. They'll feel inspired to shine with you. The ones not meant for you will always feel threatened because your existence exposes what they refuse to become. But don't let that stop you. Every step forward, every victory, every silent win, let it remind you that you're not doing this for applause. You're doing it because you were called to rise, and no amount of doubt from others can cancel a destiny that's already in motion. Protect your peace, not just your passwords. True strength in 2025 is mastering what to reveal and what to conceal. We live in a time where people guard their digital lives more carefully than their emotional ones. We set two-step verifications for our accounts, but let anyone access our energy. We install firewalls on our devices, but none around our minds. We hide our data from hackers, but expose our souls to strangers. The world has trained us to protect our information, but not our inner peace. And that's why so many people feel drained, anxious, and overwhelmed. Not because of what's happening to them, but because of what they keep allowing into them. Peace is the most valuable form of wealth you can have in this generation. It's rarer than money, harder to earn than fame, and easier to lose than time. Everyone wants success, attention, validation, connection. But very few prioritize peace. Peace doesn't trend. Peace doesn't post well. Peace doesn't demand recognition. But it's the foundation that keeps everything else steady. Without peace, even success feels hollow. Without peace, every victory feels temporary. You can't build a fulfilling life if your inner world is constantly in chaos. Protecting your peace means learning the difference between privacy and secrecy. Privacy is power, secrecy is fear. Privacy means you value your energy enough to choose who gets access. Secrecy means you hide out of shame or fear of judgment. In 2025, strength isn't about how loud you can be. It's about how centered you can remain when the world tries to pull you in every direction. It's not about isolating yourself. It's about curating your space. It's about deciding what and who deserves your energy. Because not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your emotions, your plans, or your peace. Every time you let someone into your emotional space, you give them the power to affect your state of mind. If that person carries negativity, insecurity, or drama, it spreads like smoke, slow, subtle, suffocating. That's why discernment is your shield. Not every conversation is worth having. Not every opinion is worth considering. Not every argument is worth joining. When you protect your peace, you don't respond to everything that provokes you. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop seeking validation from those who wouldn't recognize your worth even if you handed it to them. You stop trying to fix people who enjoy living broken. Protecting your peace means recognizing that silence is sometimes stronger than speaking, that walking away is sometimes wiser than winning. In this hyper-connected world, it's easy to mistake accessibility for intimacy. Just because you can reach someone instantly doesn't mean you should. Just because someone knows your name doesn't mean they deserve your story. True connection isn't built on constant communication. It's built on mutual respect and trust. When you reveal too much too soon, you give others the blueprint to manipulate your emotions. The more you expose your triggers, the easier it becomes for people to control your reactions. That's why mastering what to reveal and what to conceal is not coldness, it's self-respect. You don't owe your inner world to everyone who asks for it. Some parts of you are sacred. Some dreams are still in progress. Some thoughts aren't ready to be understood by others. Technology has made it too easy to live publicly. Every opinion, every meal, every move is shared instantly. We post our celebrations and our breakdowns with equal speed, but not everything deserves an audience. Some joys are meant to be private. Some pain deserves privacy, not publicity. Oversharing might feel freeing, but it often leads to regret. When you reveal too much, you invite interference. People will project, judge, and distort what they don't understand. And suddenly, your peace is tangled in other people's opinions. What should have been a personal moment becomes public property. Protecting your peace means understanding that not every experience needs to be explained. Not every success needs to be announced. Not every challenge needs to be broadcasted. There's a quiet confidence that comes from living selectively. You stop needing to prove your worth. You stop needing to explain your choices. You stop feeling obligated to share your every move. You learn to let your actions speak louder than your words. The people who truly matter will feel your growth even when you're silent. The ones who don't, they were never listening anyway. Protecting your peace is about reclaiming your focus from distractions. Every notification, every comparison, every argument steals mental space. Peace requires presence. You can't be calm if your attention is scattered across everyone else's noise. Sometimes, the biggest threat to your peace isn't external, it's internal. It's the voice that keeps replaying mistakes, the mind that keeps revisiting old wounds, the heart that keeps reopening closed doors. Protecting your peace means learning when to stop fighting battles that exist only in your thoughts. You can't heal if you keep rehearsing pain. You can't move forward if you're still explaining your past. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to, even the ones within your own head. Your energy is too valuable to waste on what no longer grows you. One of the hardest lessons of peace is learning that you don't need to react to everything. In a world addicted to opinions, staying unbothered is a form of strength. When someone tries to provoke you, your silence speaks louder than your defense. When negativity shows up, your calmness disarms it. Peace is power because it shows control, not over others, but over yourself. When you master your emotions, you master your environment. You stop being a victim of other people's energy. You stop giving away your serenity in exchange for being right. You stop letting temporary emotions cause permanent damage. In 2025, distractions are more dangerous than ever. Every app, every platform, every notification is designed to pull your attention outward. The more distracted you are, the less peaceful you become. Protecting your peace means reclaiming your time and your attention. It means saying no to endless scrolling, no to drama disguised as entertainment, no to the urge to always respond. You start prioritizing real experiences over digital ones. You start enjoying moments without needing to post them. You start feeling deeply instead of performing constantly. The world wants your attention because it profits from your restlessness. Peace demands that you take that attention back. People will call you distant when you start protecting your peace. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're cold, detached, or selfish. But what they're really saying is that your boundaries no longer serve their comfort. Protecting your peace will offend those who benefited from your chaos. It will frustrate those who fed on your availability. It will confuse those who mistake access for importance. But you have to remember, your peace is not up for negotiation. The moment you start compromising it for others, you begin losing yourself. Protecting your peace also means mastering the art of detachment, not indifference, but balance. It means caring deeply without clinging, helping others without draining yourself, loving fully without losing your identity. You can be compassionate without being consumed. You can be kind without being used. You can be generous without being exhausted. Detachment allows you to love people and still choose yourself. It allows you to walk away from what no longer nourishes your spirit without guilt. In a world obsessed with exposure, discipline becomes your armor. Discipline in what you say, what you share, and what you allow. When you reveal less, you invite more peace. When you speak less, you listen better. When you pause before reacting, you gain clarity. Protecting your peace means learning to pause. The pause between emotion and reaction is where wisdom grows. Not everything deserves a response. Not everyone deserves access. You start realizing that your energy is sacred currency. You can spend it recklessly on arguments and validation, or you can invest it wisely in growth and purpose. Peace also requires forgiveness, not for others, but for yourself. The past can be a noisy place. It whispers reminders of who you were, what you failed, what you lost. But peace can't exist where guilt lives rent-free. Protecting your peace means forgiving yourself for what you didn't know then, for the boundaries you didn't set, for the times you gave too much. Forgiveness doesn't excuse what happened, it releases its hold on you. You can't build peace on resentment, not toward others, and not toward yourself. Another crucial part of peace is solitude. In solitude, you rediscover your own voice. You reconnect with your intuition, your values, your dreams. But most people avoid solitude because it forces them to face themselves. They confuse being alone with being lonely. But solitude isn't isolation, it's recalibration. It's where you recharge your soul away from the noise. You start realizing that peace doesn't always mean calm. Sometimes it means choosing the right kind of struggle, the kind that leads to growth instead of chaos. In this age of information overload, mental minimalism is key to peace. You don't need to consume everything. You don't need to know everyone's opinion. You don't need to be involved in every trend, every argument, every event. Protecting your peace means choosing intentional ignorance, not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. You decide what enters your mental space. You curate your attention like you curate your feed. You unfollow what drains you. You mute what doesn't align. You choose what deserves your focus. Relationships are another major factor. Peaceful living requires peaceful company. The people around you either amplify your calm or agitate your chaos. Energy is contagious, and no matter how strong you think you are, prolonged exposure to negativity will wear you down. Protecting your peace sometimes means walking away from people you love, but who no longer align with your growth. It means setting boundaries not to punish, but to protect. It means understanding that you can love someone and still decide they're not good for your mental space. To protect your peace, you must also stop explaining it. The more you try to justify your calm to chaotic people, the more they'll try to disturb it. You don't need to explain why you didn't reply right away, why you chose silence over confrontation, why you prefer peace over popularity. Explanation invites intrusion. Stillness needs no defense. The right people will understand your boundaries, the wrong ones will take them personally. Either way, you stay firm. Your peace is your power, and power is not loud. It's steady, it's quiet, it's consistent. In 2025, when everyone is performing, reacting, competing, and comparing, real strength lies in restraint. In knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. In knowing when to act and when to observe. In knowing that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of perspective. The world will always test your calm, through chaos, through criticism, through noise. But when you master the art of choosing what to reveal and what to conceal, you stop being controlled by the world and start controlling how the world affects you.